Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have with us today Annaliese Nock, an eighth generation performer, a female daredevil, and a Guinness World Record title holder. Annaliese is the daughter of Bello Nock from Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. She is the only female in the world to do a somersault in the Wheel of Death. Her Guinness World Record title is for the most somersaults on a Wheel of Death in 1 minute. Annaliese has appeared on America's Got Talent season 13, making it to the judges' cuts. At just 24 years old, Annaliese is really wise beyond her years. She offers advice for women of any age and really women on many different types of paths. I think can find the advice and her insights really useful. So I'm excited for you to hear this today, and we're going to jump right in. All right. Hi, Annaliese. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
So I have to tell you, I did not even realize that there were female daredevils. So when I remember many years ago, there was Evel Knievel, right? That was the daredevil I knew. And since then, I know that there are many daredevils. In fact, you're eighth generation performer, correct?
That's correct.
So how did you get into this?
So like you said, I'm the eighth generation of my family to do stunts and daredevilry. But my parents never wanted us to feel forced or obligated to carry on the tradition, but it was clear at such a young age that I just loved it. I always knew, literally from the time I could form complete thoughts. That's what I was made to do. That's what I'm going to do. Even growing up in a family that did that kind of stuff, it still wasn't clear to me that there were female daredevils that could do what the boys were doing. Mm-hmm. And it took like a shift in my mind. One day my dad and I were talking to a friend, and he asked, to my dad, Bello, who are your inspirations? And he could list like so many people, and they're all men. And then they looked at me and they're like, who do you see yourself in? And it was just crickets for a minute because I couldn't think of a single female that was doing, those kind of stunts or the things that I wanted to do. And so that's when I really realized that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do, even if I'm a girl.
That's amazing. Well, I love that. And you and your dad were separately and then together. Both you're on America's Got Talent and also Britain's Got Talent, correct? You were on both shows.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? So first you went through on your own, right? You performed on your own, and then you performed together. So what were those experiences like?
No matter where you are in life, no matter how good, how bad, where you are, it's always a bit nerve-wracking to put yourself out there like that. You're having, some of the most famous people in the world judge you, and then you're literally having the whole world judge you. So that's always a little bit, scary to face, but I love just trying new things and seeing what I can learn from it, what I can experience from it. And so AGT and BGT, the whole Got Talent family is what they call it, is just such a unique experience. They literally bring talent from all around the world and they bring it on one stage, and you can just learn so much. And so I've just been honored to have been a part of it in any way. And I think I've just learned and grown so much through the process every time.
What was the audience response like for you?
So it's been different. Pre-COVID, it was more what I'm used to, performing for a live audience. Yes, it's different because there's cameras and there's the TV aspect of it. But then now this last time threw in a whole different set of games and rules that you had to play by just because of all the restrictions and stuff. And that was actually really interesting to not be performing for a live audience because that's what I've done my whole life. So it almost felt more stressful to only perform for the judges, they're the only eyes on you. So you don't want to mess up.
Yeah. What what you had, Simon Cowell was one of the judges, and I guess he's known not always to be not a very easy judge. What was it like to be judged by somebody like Simon Cowell or any of the other judges that, the celebrities that were judging you?
Yeah, I get asked that so often. Like, what's Simon like? What was it like performing for him? And to be honest, it was a huge honor. That's what I tried to just continue to remind myself, no matter what he says, no matter how you do, it's a huge honor just to make it there. So I wanted to remind myself of that. But then also every time we perform in front of him, I have to say I'm continuously impressed by how he is tough on people, but he has a magic to him that he can push people to do their best. So he's not necessarily just dogging on people to be a bully. Like, he really does have a skill that not many people have, to where he knows how he can kind of push you to be your best. And so in the end, I'm so grateful for any, like critical, things that he said, because it does push you to be better.
How did this come about that you were performing, you guys performed as part of the family of Got Talent?
So it started quite a few years ago. They had reached out to us. They have someone who is a talent scout, and so they'll just say, hey, like, do you want to audition? And like I said, I mean, auditioning for anything, no matter where you are in your career, is a bit scary. You're literally signing up to be judged and told, we like you or we don't like you. So I'm not gonna lie, for a while we were like, oh, I don't know that that's for us. But then me and my dad both just had a change of heart. This is a huge platform. This is an amazing opportunity. Let's not take it for granted. And we are so grateful we did. Like, the people we have met, the experiences we've had, the things we've learned have been priceless.
And so when did you start performing with your dad in more of this capacity, where you were really doing, building your own, being a role model for other girls? As you said, there were not a whole lot of female daredevils that you could point to. When did you start doing this?
So I had an interesting start. I started training in gymnastics and dance and anything that I could get my hands on when I was like literally 2 or 3. But I grew up seeing the beautiful girls, fly in the air and dance like ballerinas. And I could identify with that. So that's what I wanted to do. So I always wanted to be an aerialist and a contortion. And I started off doing hand balancing and all that kind of stuff, the typical, female circus performer stuff, because I could identify with that. So I did that for a really long time. And then I actually had a wrist injury. And at the time, it seemed like it was the end of the world. It was what I worked my whole life for. And just all of a sudden my wrist was injured. I couldn't do hand balancing. I struggled with contortion because of it. And I went to see specialists. They couldn't fix it. They literally told me, they're like, we think you should maybe consider a different career. I was so offended at the time, but I let myself be mad about it for a little bit. And then I just realized, okay, what are we going to do from here? And so then it opened my eyes to what my dad was doing. I was like, hey, I could still do that. And I thought, okay, I'll do it like the girls do it. That's what they do. And then all of a sudden I just started getting into it. And I was like, I want to do what they're doing. That looks fun. And the rest is history. I just started slowly doing it and realizing there's no reason I can't do it.
I love that you said that, because you had a setback and you kind of looked at it and said, all right, well, how do I creatively overcome this? So maybe my first choice of what I wanted to do was not an option, but now you've ended up in something that is even better maybe than you could have expected it to be. Can you talk a little bit, because for people who don't know, can you talk a little bit? You said you looked at what your dad was doing. You said, I want to do that. What does your dad do?
So my dad is an extremely talented daredevil. I have been so blessed to grow up with not only a father that's a daredevil, but from a young age, my dad, he also, even though he was a male, he didn't fit into the normal daredevil category. He had parents who were daredevils, but he'll tell you himself he was pigeon-toed, buck-toothed, had like red hair that stuck straight up. He didn't fit in, he was always like joking, tripping over his feet. And so he decided, I can't be a daredevil like everyone else, so I'm gonna try and make my own way. And so now he considers himself a comic daredevil. He does insane feats, but all with like a smile and a laugh on his face, which is awesome to me. And so I grew up watching him do all of that crazy stuff. And like I said, I just knew I wanted to do that. I wanted to be a daredevil like my dad was.
And he worked with Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. Is that right? So growing up, you saw him performing and were around the circus as a young child. And what is that like?
So yeah, my dad headlined Ringling Brothers for a huge portion of my childhood, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. That really was where he really like grew into the amazing performer and character and just human that he is. And I just had like a front row seat to what is obtainable if you are passionate about your dreams, because my dad always knew that that's what he wanted to do. And he had everyone, even his own parents, like everyone around him was telling him, oh, you're never going to make it doing this daredevil and clown stuff. Like you have to pick one. You're never going to make it like that. And so I was just so grateful that I had a front row seat to see that he didn't let that bother him, and he achieved it. He went to the top of his, his like goals.
So what were you like as a young child? You said you knew from a pretty early age that this is the path you wanted to go down. What were you like in terms of, how you were? Were you always kind of jumping off of things? Were you already doing these things when you were young?
Yes, I was a really funny child. Like you look back and you think of the thoughts you had as a kid and you're like, what was I thinking? I was super, I wasn't necessarily like, naturally talented or, more inclined to anything. What I had was a fierce like independence and wanting to just do what I wanted to do. And then also like I was crazy stubborn. So I remember being like 2 years old and we had a tiny little unicycle that my dad was teaching my brother and sister ride. They're older than me. And I remember like wanting to get on it and them just being like, no, you're too little. You can't ride. You won't even be able to reach the pedals. And I remember being like 2 and being so offended and like insisting, no, I want to ride it. And I rode it pretty quickly. And like I said, I don't think it was necessarily like skill. It was pure determination. My parents joke. They're like, she's literally staying up by willpower. I wanted to prove that I could do it. I wanted to try it. And that's how it started.
I love that you said the word determination, because one of the things I was going to ask you about is that what you do, it really seems to require an enormous amount of determination, right? There's, of course, skill, but there's a lot of determination and sort of your mental attitude that goes with the performance. How do you prepare yourself for that and for performance?
So my dad really instilled in me and raised me to believe that like there's no such thing as luck. It's preparation meeting opportunity. When those two pass, we don't know, but you have to be prepared for it and you have to have your eyes open for the opportunity when they're going to meet. And so I think that your mindset is at least 50% of it. Like I can look back in my life and of the things that I have accomplished and the things that I haven't, the difference has always been me being able to visualize it and see it happening. If I can't visualize it, if I don't believe that it's actually going to happen, it's probably not going to happen. So the mentality that you go into it and that the atmosphere that you create around it, I feel like has such an impact on how far you're going to go or what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. And I love that because it says that you have to basically visualize it for yourself. You have to kind of see yourself doing it. And I can imagine one of the tricks that I saw you doing, and in terms of your performances on America's Got Talent, you're on this circular wheel basically that's going around and around very high. How high up in the air were you?
They're about 45 feet in the air.
Right. So you're not that 45 feet is, I know it sounds like, oh, 45 feet, but it's a couple of stories. Like it's not
Yeah.
like it's not
Four and
a
a half stories, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That would be 4.5 stories.
Okay, so 4.5 stories. You fall from 4.5 stories, you're going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So how, when you are up doing one of these performances, can you hear the reaction from the crowd that is below you watching?
It's always going to be different depending on what setting you're in, how big the crowd is, how loud they are. And so you definitely hear them and you want to play to the live audience, that's who you want to please. But you also have to just be so focused and you're going to notice it, but how quickly you decide, okay, wait, you heard that, you can acknowledge it, but do you still have all your ducks in a row of what you have to do? So what we do is called the wheel of death, but we always joke that we don't want to take it that far. So we'll either call it the wheel of wonder or the wheel of destiny. But it comes back to being in the right mental state, because my dad always says the most accidents happen like closest to home, because it's when you start dropping your guard, when you get comfortable, you say, oh, I'm already there. I don't have to be on guard. I don't have to pay attention. And the same is like, it's the same thing in our industry. I've seen a lot of that, and I just always want to be in check that I'm not getting too comfortable. You have to respect what you're doing, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Well, and when thinking about you being up there, you talked about the determination and that mindset you have to get yourself into. It's so clear that the audience is reacting to what you're doing. You can hear, I mean, it's as a viewer, you can hear people gasping. And I know you said you can sort of hear that while you're up doing your performance, and the ability, that what you said before about determination, right? That ability to kind of just close that out and continue to go on. Is that something that you just learned as you performed? Did it come from performing in front of an audience? How did you acquire that skill?
I think it's a valuable skill that anyone can learn in anything. So I'm glad that I got to experience it and see it through the eyes of performing. But it's like anything, you're gonna, no matter what you do, have reactions and voices. It might be oohs, it might be ahs, it might be boos. But you don't need to pretend they're not there, but you can't give them too much attention. So even if it's all the praise in the world, you can take it, you can accept it, but still staying focused is what keeps you safe as a daredevil. So we definitely hear it. We definitely acknowledge it. We definitely appreciate it, but it doesn't determine what our next move is. It doesn't make any difference. And we're still going to do what we do, like trick wise and performance wise, because that's just what you have to do.
That is such a valuable way of thinking, and having that, I mean, at a young age, to have already built that up, because you can think about how it's applicable in so many other, as you said, it's not just what you do that it's applicable. You almost have to know in life is such a valuable skill. So you're 24. How long have you been doing this as a performer?
So like I said, I started training when I was 3. I started professionally performing when I was 11. And then I started doing like the more daredevil stuff, like the wheel of death or the sway poles, which are like 90 feet in the air, that kind of stuff. When I was about 16 is when I started really pursuing it.
Okay. So you've been doing it professionally for a while. What is the scariest moment you've had in terms of your professional career in doing these? Because this, you've chosen a career that does maybe have a bit more risk than other types of careers. What is the scariest moment you've had?
It's hard to pinpoint a single, scary moment, just because we try to face fear often. But I think, like anyone, the scariest thing is the unknown. So, we can be doing the most death-defying stunt in the world, but we try to take it very seriously, and we try to like calculate everything we do. And, you know, it's not like we just wake up one day and we want to try something insane, you know, like we make sure the odds are with us. We make sure we're prepared. We make sure we double, triple check everything. So we're able to face those scary things because of preparation and, you know, like calculating the odds and stuff. The scariest thing is always the unknown. When something comes out of left field, no matter what, it throws you off guard. But the only way that you're gonna, you know, survive and what's gonna determine the outcome is how you react to it. You know, like if you overreact, it's probably not going to be good. If you underreact, it's probably not going to be good. So as Daredevils, we really just focus on our reaction to things, making sure that our instincts, our positive instincts, is what determines it. So I just have to say the most scary thing is definitely the unknown. You just you know to a certain degree.
Right. And that unknown can happen in different scenarios. It's not necessarily, as you said, just one. So you hold the Guinness World Record for the most somersaults on a wheel of death, although you also said you guys refer to it as the wheel of opportunity. You call it different things. And you're the only female in the world to do a somersault on a wheel of death. Can you share with us what that accomplishment means to you, especially as a woman? You talked before about how you didn't see a whole lot of female Daredevil role models ahead of you, and that's one of the things you're trying to, you know, start an example. So what does that accomplishment mean for you?
It is such a big honor to, you know, have that title and to have accomplished that. Because like I said, I didn't see girls that are Daredevils that looked like me growing up. And so I slowly got into it where I started doing the wheel. And I remember clear as day thinking and probably even saying like, yeah, I'm going to do the girls part of it, which was a lot simpler than the guys portion. It was a lot less dangerous. And so I started doing that. And then I was like, they're jumping and flying, and that looks so fun. I want to try that just for fun. And then I started doing that. And then I realized, hey, I'm actually kind of good at this. Like, I don't know. It was crazy to think back and think that I thought girls wouldn't be good at that just because they were girls, you know? And that was never told to me. That was, you know, I can't put that on anyone. I formed those thoughts in my own head. And so when I realized that, I decided, you know, all right, I want to go for a flip. Like, that's what I want to do. And as soon as I decided I wanted to flip, I said, you know what? Like, I want to put a mark in history just for myself, just to know I was the first girl to ever do it. And then when I was researching it, I saw that the guy's record was there. And I was like, you know what? If we're going to do it, let's either go big or go home. Let's do it. And so that's when I decided to go for the Guinness World Record. And to be honest, it was insanely nerve-wracking. You know, I wasn't sure that I would be able to do it, but I wanted to try because I wanted girls to, you know, someone like me, like, to see, okay, like, I can identify with that. I can see myself doing what the boys do and maybe even doing it better.
I love it. That is awesome. I love that you thought about it initially as, oh, I'm going to do this as a woman, or, you know, I'm going to do it as a girl. But then we're able to kind of push further and say, I'm just going to do it as a person. And congratulations. How old were you when that happened?
I think I had just turned 19.
Oh, wow. Unbelievable. Okay. So within all of your accomplishments, what are you most proud of?
I've had so many amazing opportunities that I'm just so honored by, and I'm proud of the family that I come from, and, you know, all the people that I get to meet and things I get to do. But what my parents have really like instilled in me that I'm really grateful for is that they have taught me that you can do all this amazing stuff. You can go do the most amazing feat in the world, but that's only going to get you so far. People are only going to be interested in that for so long. What's really going to matter and what's really going to carry you after that is who you are as a person. You know, are you kind? Are you generous? Are you thoughtful? That's going to determine a lot more than the amazing things you can do.
Well, it sounds like you have an amazing supportive family that's around you. How do you deal with failure? And because, I'm sure that things have not, you don't always get things exactly as you want them when you're working towards them, but so failure comes up. How do you deal with that?
It's going to be different every time. And I wish I had a clear and concise answer of, just not letting it bother you, all that stuff. But I think it really is true that you just have to decide that failure is it's a learning experience. It's a learning curve. It's realizing everyone's going to fail. Failure usually means that you tried something new or something hard, and that's worth celebrating in itself, the fact that you tried it. One of my favorite quotes is like, be scared, but still do it, and obviously you want to be prepared when you do it. You don't want to just do something foolish, but I think, it's always going to be different in every situation, but just trying things and not being scared to fail. I think we're all scared of failing, as the human race. But when you realize that everyone's a little bit scared of it, everything, that everyone has ever tried that's new is scary, but the best thing you can do is do it anyways.
Yeah, I love that. Through your performances, you show people around the world that women can really accomplish anything. What advice would you give to women who are pursuing their own dreams?
I would definitely tell them to just kind of stay in your lane. Like, don't let the outside voices, the criticism, the praise, don't let that necessarily derail you or determine the path that you're going to take, because only you know your desires and your passion and kind of what you were made to do in this world. So it's a hard thing to do, but I would just say, like, stay true to that. Try as hard as you can to take everything that everyone says with a grain of salt. There's always room for improvement, but you can't let other people steer your own path.
That is great advice. So let me ask, how much time do you spend practicing? I'm assuming that this is what you do. How much of your day are you practicing?
It's funny. It's probably a shocking answer. It really depends. Some weeks it's very, very little. Some weeks I don't have any time to practice. And then some weeks we train for hours and hours a day. It always depends on, the season of life you're in. So with COVID, we're still performing a lot and we're still, working to our dreams. Obviously they've had to pivot like everyone has been. But this year has been a lot more mentally draining than most have. So I haven't devoted as much time to physically training. But we like to get into like a routine when we know we're, like growing up, we developed a baseline of skill sets, and it's kind of like muscle memory. It feels like it's always going to be there. You just have it, and then we'll sharpen up those skills and work to improve them after that. So throughout this, it's been really uncertain and a little bit scary. So our schedule is a lot different. We'll probably practice for like an hour a day when we do nowadays. When I was younger, like I said, it was like 4 hours a day. So it just depends on the season of life you're in. If we're working towards something really, really big or really physically straining, then we'll up it, as much as 8 hours a day. So it really just depends.
So would you, if you had a child, because you've been doing this with your dad, would you want your child to go, you're 8th generation, would this be something you'd want your children to go into?
I really can't say. I would only want them to do it if it was their passion. For me, carrying on this tradition, it wasn't at all about like feeling pressure to. I'm honored that I can be the one to do it, but I'm only doing it because I love it. I have an older brother and an older sister, and they both dabbled in it, but it was clear that it wasn't their passion. And so my parents said, we don't want you to feel entitled or obligated. If you want it, you work for it. If you don't, that's totally fine. Like, let us help you find what your passion is. So I would only want my future children to pursue it and become, the 9th, 10th generation if they loved it as much as I do.
Yeah. So what do you think, in terms of pursuing your dreams, right? You've accomplished so much at a young age. What is next for you? What do you still want? You have so much time ahead of you. What else do you want to do?
There's an endless list of things I would like to do. But right now, we're all in a season of pivoting with the
Mhm.
state of the world. And so performing is naturally a thing that I hope is a part of my life for a long time. So I'm still
Mhm.
doing that. But this year has really opened my eyes to the opportunity of reaching people more with my voice, not
Mhm.
necessarily with a crazy feat, because not everyone can relate to doing a somersault 45 feet in the air multiple times,
Mhm.
but everyone can relate to being scared of something, to facing your fears, to dealing with adversity. Everyone can relate to that in a certain aspect. So I really want to do my homework and do what I can to talk to the little girls that are in the position that I was 10, 15, 20 years ago, and just do what I can to tell them, like, look, dream big. It's all going to be okay.
Mhm.
And find how I can help the next generation have a set of useful skills to take on life and, you know, dream big.
I love that. And I guess it kind of nicely ties into the next question I have for you, which is, do you have a personal mission? I mean, it sounds like maybe you do.
Yeah, I'm still refining exactly what that is, but I really want to share with the world the experiences that I learned at a young age, whether they were good or bad, to just empower, not even just girls, just humans, that there is a big world out there. There is so much opportunity. And the best thing you can do is find what you are passionate about, what you were made to do, and do it no matter what anyone else says, because it doesn't matter what it is. You're going to have a lot of people that are like naysayers or just can't visualize what you can. And I'm grateful that I had parents that empowered me to go for it, and I know a lot of people don't. So I think
Mhm.
that's kind of my mission. What that looks like, I'm not sure, but I'm excited to see.
Well, that's awesome. I love, what it's so amazing what you've accomplished in such a very short time. Is there anything that you've got coming up? I know COVID has hit everybody, and as you've mentioned a couple of times that there's been pivoting going on because of the lack of live performances or significantly reduced live performances. But do you have some things that you're excited that are hopefully when COVID passes that you're excited about coming up?
Yeah, definitely. So there's still a lot of exciting performances and stunt opportunity, whether they're live or televised. There's a lot of that in the works. So I'm super excited about that. And then also, my family has developed, it's been a dream of ours, but we also developed what we call an adventure center. It's an event center. And so that's been really fun for us to kind of use our creative juices and take risks in new ways. And so we have a big facility that can be indoor and outdoor. And so we've been doing a lot of events that way, which has been fun to entertain people in a slightly different way, and also in a safe way.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, I've recently started doing more like speaking engagements and stuff. And like I said, I never necessarily pictured myself doing that, but it's been so fun to explore different passions. So that's what I've been excited to be working on.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on all of the success. By the way, where is the facility that you guys built that maybe people can go check out?
Yeah, we're in Sarasota, Florida. It's pretty much sunny
Mhm.
all year round.
Yep.
You can check out any information at bellonock.com or daredaughter.com, or on social media. We're always posting, different events we're doing. Like I said, it's a fun way to entertain people in a safe way, because we have an indoor facility and outdoor facility. So if anyone's in the area, come say hi.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. If people want to find you, to follow you, where's the best way they can do that?
So the best way is on social media. I love social media. It's Dare Daughter. And anywhere, anywhere on social media or website. So Dare Daughter.
Annaliese, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been an honor.